Molweni, are we fine? Great. Molweni Dumelang. Molweni. Good evening. Are the people here? Okay. Before we start, I'd like us to just give a round of applause for Dr. Putisipuru and Miss Ndombisinto Nzobe, just for the music that they've been blessing us with. I think we can do better than that as well. Molweni Dumelang, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Luthuli Plank. I am part of the Chief Albert Luthuli research team. And indeed, it is an honor today to be your program facilitator or program director as we admire, celebrate, and launch an important book that was spearheaded and edited by the Chief Albert Luthuli Research Chair, Professor Boleng Sekgalo, and Dr. Deniko Chauke. And the title of the book is The Faces and Phases of Inkosi Albert Luthuli Reflections. The faces and phases of Inkosi Albert Luthuli Reflections. And I thought about what a time it is to be in academia right now, where we are allowed to be creative and also to slang and twang and also to rhyme. I mean, if you hear the faces and the phases, you know, and also using Inkosi instead of chief, that is the space and the content that some of us have signed up for. Colleagues, please allow me to acknowledge a few individuals. The Unisa executive management in absentia, our university principal, Professor Boleng Lenkabola, in absentia, Professor Meyiwa, who is our Unisa vice principal of the Research, Innovation and Commercialization Department. Professor Les Labeskakni, who is present, who is the Unisa Executive Director of the Research, Innovation and Commercialization Department. The council members of the Luthuli Museum, Mr. Matlowo and Mr. Kaba. Professor Inkosi, the Unisa Dean of the College of Human Sciences. Professor Tinandaba Mashau, the Unisa Deputy Executive Dean of the College of Human Sciences. Dr. Ntwesane, the Director of Unisa Press. Colleagues from the National Institute for the Humanities and Social Sciences, famously known as the NIHSS. And it is important to acknowledge that the NIHSS was a financial backup or financial supporter towards this book project, Inkosi. I'd also like to also acknowledge the chapter contributors and those who will be part of the reps from the media, colleagues and friends from other higher learning institutions, the Unisa community, those who are physically here and those who are watching us online. I'd also like to acknowledge and evoke the spirit of Ubabu Albert Luthuli so that he joins us as we reflect and we honor his legacy, Tamako. Colleagues, please do note that unfortunately Professor Boleng Sekgalo is unable to join us today because there is a bereavement at home. And I know that, Prof, when you get the chance, you will be watching this video. We send our congratulations to you and we are proud. But also, we would like to also say that we hold your family and you in our thoughts and our prayers in this difficult time. The Phases and Faces of Inkosi Albert Luthuli Reflection is a book that is important and that is a brainchild of the chair that started in 2021. And I believe it is very important, colleagues, to give them a round of applause to just say thank you for this important offering. The book does provide in-depth look into the life and legacy of an important, prominent leader. It is through such books that we are able to do memory work, legacy, and healing work. Chief Albert Luthuli is a phenomenal leader. He was an activist, philanthropist, family man, a man of God, and it is crucial to excavate and keep his memory alive for generations to come. Inkosi Luthuli fought for liberation, for equality, for accountability, for peace, for being seen and for being heard. He believed in the concept of batopeli, meaning people first, and this shows that he was a servant leader. This book, colleagues, comprises of 12 chapters with various contributions that offer insight into the diverse life of Ubaba Luthuli and also what is happening in our contemporary South Africa. I would like to now call upon Prof. Les Labaskagni, who is the Executive Director of the Research, Innovation and Commercialization Department, to officially open this book launch and welcome us all here. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please welcome Prof. Les?
Good evening, everyone, and it's great to see so many people on a Friday evening still being interested in academia and academic matters. It is really heartwarming. Right, the session chair stole my speech, and now I don't know what to say, because everybody has been welcomed that should be welcomed. So I think from my side, representing the research space, representing Professor Mihiwa here today, just to say we really appreciate you making time available to join us tonight. It is always very exciting to see how the efforts that have gone into the research process, and there's so much that happens behind the scene to get us to where we are here tonight. And quite often, it is great to celebrate this product that is here today. But I also want to acknowledge everybody that has contributed, from the colleagues in Unisa Press, right through to the colleagues that dealt with research ethics, the colleagues in the college that provided the support, the administrators around the funding for the project and all those kind of things. There's so many people that actually work together to ultimately enable our researchers to do what they want to do and also what they're passionate about. So it's always very exciting to, at the end of a very long journey, I think as you've indicated, it started in 2021, to see at that end of the journey a final product coming out, and a product that Unisa is very proud to have. And I believe Unisa Press is also very proud to have it in its stable of books as such. So I think here at Unisa, often we're in the media for the wrong things, but every now and then there are good things that happen in our space. And there's lots of good people at Unisa that make these things happen. And that is what makes me always believe that we've got a very bright future ahead of us here at Unisa, despite all the noise and sometimes the problems that we see around us. So colleagues, thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoy the evening with us, and I'm sure we all look forward to hear more about the book and its contents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Les Lavastakni. I believe that when you've welcomed us now, we can feel at home and relax, and I can even sing as the program director and do whatever I want. Thank you so much. Moving right along, I'd like to call one of the co-editors, Dr. Untitled Chapter, to give us brief reflections on the process and also on the book. Thank you.
I had to show that I'm co-editor, so I brought my laptop. Program director, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow contributors who are joining us online and in this room, good evening. As we celebrate the launch of this significant book today, we also want to express our sincere condolences and offer our thoughts and prayers to Professor Sikhalo, my co-editor, during this difficult time of mourning within her family. We deeply appreciate the unwavering support from NIHSS and Unisa Press, without which our monumental project would not have come to fruition. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Raymond Satner for his valuable expertise in crafting the preface, which has set the stage for an insightful exploration of Inkosi Luthuli's multifaceted nature. The profound foreword the late Priest Mangosuthu Buthelezi contributed has deeply touched us. It stands as a compelling call to action for forthcoming generations in the ongoing battle against injustice. His words will continue to inspire us. We thank the Luthuli Museum for their invaluable support and collaborative efforts in our research undertakings. I'm echoing. His words will continue to inspire us. We thank the Luthuli Museum for the invaluable support and collaborative efforts in our research undertakings. Your contributions have been instrumental in our work. Furthermore, I express my sincere appreciation and dedication to the staff of the Chief Albert Luthuli Research Chair and Unisa Library for their pivotal role in hosting this significant event, particularly as we approach the annual commemoration of Luthuli's passing on the 21st of July, a time that serves as a poignant reminder of the leadership committed to serving the people. And I almost forgot to thank our contributors. Have I? It's the echoing. To our contributors, your unwavering dedication and insightful contributions, notwithstanding the demanding nature of your schedules, have deeply humbled us. Your endeavors have facilitated a renewed understanding of Inkosi Luthuli and ignited critical debates on the current state of democracy in our country. Your work is invaluable and greatly appreciated. I will now briefly delve into a reflection on the journey of the book. Reflecting on the legacy of Inkosi Luthuli has been enlightening and enriching for us all. While Luthuli's legacy is integral to South African history, his life story and contributions remain obscured in many segments of our society. As editors, we felt compelled to reflect on the significance of Luthuli's legacy and its enduring relevance in contemporary South Africa. Our book project was conceived as a deliberate effort to pave the way for emerging scholars and promote collaboration among a diverse community of academics. These pivotal moments prompted us to honor and commemorate Luthuli's life, reflect on his legacy, and explore the enduring relevance of his philosophy in South Africa today. While working on this book, we grappled with the power dynamics intrinsic to knowledge production within higher education. We aimed to challenge and redefine these power dynamics by amplifying historically marginalized voices and perspectives. Contributing to this project was a step toward realizing the objectives of the Luthuli Research Chair, particularly in unearthing obscured or distorted histories and archiving our true histories. As a contributor to the book, I have been privileged to delve into Luthuli's writings and explore his perspectives on the injustices of apartheid government. Luthuli's visionary leadership and emphasis on inclusive spaces and institutions for the marginalized have been particularly enlightening. The book aimed to underscore these pivotal aspects of Luthuli's philosophy and leadership. In a chapter reflecting on our journey, Sekgalo had the following to say: "The contributions from all the authors have been critical and timely. Each chapter sheds light on the diverse facets of Luthuli's life, his works, and his impact on shaping history. Our collective endeavor has been to rewrite our histories, ensuring that Luthuli's narrative is in our collective consciousness." Close quote. As editors, we have endeavored to foster an environment conducive to learning, reflection, and dialogue through the book. Through engaging with Luthuli's legacy, we hope to collectively draw lessons from history, acknowledge its triumphs and challenges, and work towards a future that embodies the values of justice, equality, and leadership dedicated to serving the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chauke. And colleagues, the book is sold at 150 today. Please do us the honor of buying the book so that we say thank you to the contributors, to the editors. And one of the biggest things that we never talk about is the editor's process, having to run around the contributors when contributors don't respond to their emails, when also contributors at times having to edit many things, the spelling, the references, So thank you, Dr. Chauke, and also to Professor Boleng for this amazing work that you've done. Right now, colleagues, I would like to call upon Mr. Matlo, who is a council member of the Luthuli Museum, to offer congratulatory remarks on behalf of the Luthuli Museum. Thank you.
Please bear with me. I'm old school. I prepared some notes. Madam Program Director, distinguished academics from within and without Unisa, ladies and gentlemen. We're living in an era of information overload. As we embrace digital technologies and services, we are transitioning to a multi-mediated environment where content is in abundance. Content emanating from multiple sources. Local and transnational content, from institutionalized and non-institutionalized sources. Content from regulated and unregulated sources of information. Content, some of which is unethical, others downright misleading. Ours is a time of misinformation, an epoch of disinformation and false news, where narratives get hijacked for all sorts of ulterior motives. Today, the World War II concept of propaganda looks like a Sunday picnic. In this time of smoke and mirrors, our salvation lies in fact-checking. Our salvation lies in academic and extra-academic research, advocacy research. Our role is, if we are to be truly informative, to tirelessly probe and probe and probe. In relation to the rich legacy of Africa and global Africa's first Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Unisa's Inkosi Luthuli Research Chair is our beacon of light. Unisa's Inkosi Luthuli Research Chair is our media platform to unpack and to navigate where the footprints of Inkosi Albert Luthuli leads us to. It is understandable why almost 10 years ago, the Chief Albert Luthuli Museum made representations and submission to the University of South Africa to establish a research chair in honor of Inkosi Albert Luthuli. Two stalwarts were instrumental in this initiative. One, the late chairperson of the Inkosi Albert Luthuli Museum, Mr. Important Mkhize, may his soul rest in eternal peace, and the current chairperson, Dr. Mkolisi Mkhunu, approached Unisa to seek the audience of the former Vice Chancellor, Professor Makai. The seed that gave rise to the Inkosi Albert Luthuli Research Chair were thus planted. In that regard, we are all indebted to their foresight and their vision, which went beyond the horizons. What we are bearing witness this evening with the launch of this erudite piece of work is just the tip of an iceberg. Many and countless research outputs are still to follow from the research chair. Community projects and empowerment programs targeting jail children, for example, in our townships are some of the milestones of the research chair. The cumulative impact of all these endeavors demonstrates Unisa and its century-and-a-half history as the country's first university. Thank you for lending me your ears. Ke a leboha.
Ntate Matlao, thank you so much for your congratulatory remarks. Indeed, we have a long-standing relationship with the Luthuli Museum. And I remember in one of our lectures, if not, or it was a symposium, and Ubabu Important Mkhize once said, I want to see the books, and it is sad, but also I hope he is seeing the book, you know, of the work that we've done. But also I thank you for highlighting the other work that the research chair does and is committed to, because at times some people would ask, what does this chair do? It looks like you're busy, but what do you do? And the work that we do is important because we look at grassroots and we work with the community. And so thank you so much for honoring the work that we are to do and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who do not know, Inkosi or Luthuli passed on the 21st of July in 1967. And also 2024 marks 20 incredible years of the Luthuli Museum. So I would like to ask Ubab Matlao, and also if Mr. Klaba is here as well, to join us on stage as we, as the chair, but also the contributors, and also the Unisa Press, when we just want to say to you guys, thank you so much for the work that you've been doing, and please continue the legacy of Ubabo Luthuli. Bab Klaba and Mr. Matlab, may you come forward. And also the co-editor may join us as well. Oh, Mr. Klaba couldn't make it. Okay, Inkosi. No. Oh, you guys can go sit down. When you go back home tomorrow, and also I know that there's the walk in honor as well, please do tell them of the work and also of the book that we have gifted you, to just say thank you for the endless support and the love that you show us all the time. Thank you. Can you give Ndata Matlawa a round of applause? We are now, ladies and gentlemen, at the time we will be receiving reflections from the contributors. And I would like to now call Dr. Wiseman Mbata, who contributed chapter 8, which is titled Landless and Homeless in South Africa. Sorry. Me and Mr. Matlo, we are old school, so the papers are doing the things. Landless and Homeless in South Africa, a call for social justice in the post-apartheid era, and also contributed in chapter 10 with Prof. Sekgalo, and the title of the chapter is Morena ke Morena ka Batho, Future Leaders in Transformative Leadership in South Africa. Dr. Wiseman.
Well, Program Director, it would be a mistake for me if I will fail to honor the critical aspect of Chief Albert Luthuli of being a Christian. I believe that we were supposed to open this two-day gathering with a prayer to allow the Spirit to flow in so that we will digest effectively the session of today. So I will request the House to close the eyes and I will give a prayer on it. Siza phambi kwakho kulolu suku baba, sinxuse Jehova ukuba uqale nathi baba, usibusisele baba i-content yosuku esizoqala namhlanje negama likaBaba uLuthuli, usinikeze ukukhanya, usinikeze nempumelelo, kube ulwazi olungapheli. Ngicela konke lokho ngokwethemba igama lakho, le ndodana yakho nikaMoya Ongcwele kuzobe ngona phakade. Amen. Well, Namiga, I'm that old school. I think this thing of being old school, we live it. Well, Program Director, the spirit of Baba Luthuli, the Luthuli family, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to extend my humble greetings and also express my pivotal gratitude for being offered with this opportunity. It is a great honor and privilege to stand before you today as we launch the Faces and Phases of Inkosi Chief Albert Luthuli, a remarkable and timely work edited by Professor Sekgalo and Dr. Schaik, of course with a significant contribution from various authors across the academic spectrum. I think, colleagues, you will agree with me to say this is not just a book, but this is a testament on the profound impact of Chief Albert Luthuli in the history of this country and his commitment and what we call enduring legacy in the struggle for social justice, equality, and also human dignity. It becomes very imperative as a result to me to extend my heartfelt congratulations to all authors who have contributed to this exceptional book. I am particularly humbled to reflect on the chapters as Program Director as stipulated on the landless and homeless in South Africa, a call for social justice, and also on the chapter that I collaborated with Prof. Sekgalo, Morena ki Morena ka Batho, Future Leaders and Transformative Leadership in South Africa. In the chapter on landless and homeless in South Africa, I divulge extensively on the persisting issues of landlessness and homelessness that continue to afflict our society, despite the promise to freedom and also despite the promise to what we call equality in the post-apartheid era. These issues are not merely traces of the past, but these are active issues that demand our significant attention and action. Chief Albert Luthuli reflected extensively on the issue of land, as he once stated. You will agree that the masses of the African people live in abject poverty in both rural and urban areas, and so many Africans find themselves landless and homeless. I close the quote. His words resonate deeply with the ongoing struggle of many South Africans who remain marginalized and also excluded in the benefits of our democratic progress. This emphasizes the importance of the persevering until the unjust treatment of African people in their homeland is corrected. In the chapter on future leaders and transformative leadership, we explore extensively the concept of transformative leadership and the imperative for nurturing future leaders who embody the principles of Chief Albert Luthuli, who embody the service and also injustice that Chief Albert Luthuli so exemplified. Our future leaders must therefore be rooted in the understanding that true leadership is about serving the people who work towards a collective good. This ethos that leader is a leader by the people is very significant in steering our nation towards a more inclusive and equitable future. As a result, the success of this book is profoundly significant to me on the basis that it presents a collective effort to keep the spirit and the mission of Chief Albert Luthuli alive. It is such scholarly endeavors that we can continue to educate, that we can continue to inspire, and that we can continue to mobilize the future generation to address the challenges that persist within our society. This book is more just a collective of essays. It is a call to action, a reminder to the work that remains, a beacon of hope for a more just and equitable South Africa. The commitment of Chief Albert Luthuli to fighting the homelessness and landlessness was unwavering. His legacy challenges us to carry forward his work with the same vigor and determination. As we reflect on his life and contributions, we are reminded that true social justice requires not only a recognition of the past injustices, but also a steadfast commitment in creating a tangible change. The life of Chief Albert Luthuli was a testament to the power of steadfast resolve and compassionate leadership. He once declared, these rights, especially the right to land, could and should be extended to all people in an integrated society for each to use voluntarily, according to his inclination and capabilities. Apartheid in the reserves will not give the people more land, and yet scarcity of land is one of the paramount needs. This powerful assertion underscores the necessity now that we are able to address the structural inequalities that persist within our society, and also critically teach ourselves that each and every one of us can play a significant role on the ongoing struggle. As we celebrate this book, let us honor the legacy of Chief Albert Luthuli by recommitting ourselves to the principles that he stood up for. Let us draw the inspiration for his courage, his vision, and his unwavering dedication to justice and equality. And let us continue to work tirelessly to a South Africa where everyone has a place to call home and a fair share of land that is rightfully theirs. I believe that this is what Chief Albert Luthuli was hoping for, and also exposing his name in the academic space. It now gives us as scholars a responsibility to interlink with the society in ensuring that his words, they go to an extent to address the societal issues to which Chief Albert Luthuli was hoping to achieve. With those words, Program Director, I thank you.
Inkosi, Dr. Wiseman, for those wise words. I know I got, I'm very, I rhyme with the times. But thank you so much for your reflections on an important contributions that you have made. Okay, I think someone took my books by mistake. One book. It's Una. Okay, it's fine. One of the important things is you're calling us to recommit ourselves, but also to be more like Chief Albert Luthuli, to be servant leaders. When you're saying morena ke morena ka batho, and it's very important. What is happening in our country, we can't turn a blind eye and be deaf also in what is going on. And it is about time that we recommit ourselves and we take action, we write the work, but also we take the work to the community. So thank you so much for the offerings that you have done. Without wasting time, I would also like to call upon Prof. Pamandla Zondi. I'm not sure if Mr. Giaboka is also here, to offer their reflections, who they contributed to chapter 2.
Good evening. Good evening to all of you, all important people, and a special greetings to family Ramadlanduna, Luthuli, and the entire memory institution that seeks to preserve the memory of this great son of the soil, and the publisher, and of course the immaculate, diligent, intelligent, very wise editors. We were led by 2 women in this book, and they kept us in line. It was not a GNU, it was a straight, and it worked very well. Well done. Now, with this done, we are now expecting the next book, because at the birth of one book, another one is conceived. It's just the nature of books. They are not material in your hands, they are material in your head. And the book in the hand is only a representation of the book in the head. Now, the book in the head was never finished. The timeline required that this part of the book in the head must come out. The other parts of the book have not yet come out. So I'm glad to announce that these editors are going to produce another book after this. Would you want to clap hands for them? Thank you so much. I'm happy that one of the editors here did clap hands, which is a sign of saying, Eletu, it will be so. Now, this book is very well titled, The Faces and Phases, and that's what our chapter, which is chapter 2, with a young man who is at the University of Free State, that we had to do. It says the phases, and then it says the faces. You're not writing a book on a human being, on a figure, on an institution. Writing a book on what once lived require us to understand what lived and what lived after that lived. It's automatic. Because at the point of our writing, we are talking about a life that ended. But at the point of our writing, you are talking about a life that ended after it ended. And therefore, we are talking about a life. I hope you understand. We are talking about a life that ended. And you are saying the life ended. You can say so. But we are talking about a life that ended. Say when I say life, it's something living that ended. Which means there are 2 parts to this life. It's life that it lived, and it's the life that it didn't live, or it's the life that it made it to live after it lived. Because when we go into the memory of this person, then you look at the leadership quality, you look at the agency, you look at their travails, you look at their challenges, you look at their victories, you look at their strengths, you look at their relationships with others, you look at their engagement with others, you are actually breathing life to what is dead. Because if it indeed dies, we don't talk about it after burial. It then dies. But once we continue to talk after that, then we author a new phase of its life. And that phase, we call it in our chapter, the afterlife. So we are saying a lot of work on Inkosi Albert Luthuli. A lot of it is about his life. And there's a lot to talk about here. The significance of him being born in what is today Zimbabwe, in southern Rhodesia. The significance of him being born in that part of the world and being born in the mission station, not as a resident of the mission station, but as a son of a missionary in the mission station. That is very significant. The significance of him being born of two generations of missionaries that are Africans, that remain African, though they have now become Christian, is a very big story about his life. How he becomes Christian and becomes African at the point where being Christian required him to die in being African. How does he decide defiantly to do that? How does he decide to live at a crossroads of both life and live both? How it helps us understand everybody else. How does he decide to keep a consciousness of a Christian and still keep a consciousness of an African in another African land, different from where he is born? How does it do that? But you have to go back to his grandfather, John, to his father. All of them traveled the same thing. So there's something about his life that helps us understand what W.B. Du Bois calls double consciousness of the African initiative, African elite in a European or colonial setting. The double consciousness, the ability to live both lives in order to disrespect the binary, the line that is drawn in a colonial society between the subject and the citizen. The citizen is white normally, the subject is black. And they live in different places. In order to pass through, they need a pass, what we now call an ID. Now you have then people who decide that they would want to live both lives. And in order to live in both ends of life, they must then defy the single consciousness and acquire double consciousness. It helps us understand what Shula Marx means when she says a lot of this African elite, it looks at African elite in the 1920s, and 1930s, and 1940s, lived what was called a deliberate ambiguity of dependence. You know, ambiguity simply means you are cut between two. And it's usually an experience of foolishness, a feature of weakness and stuff. But she talks about it as being deliberate. So you deliberately become ambiguous, so that you defy a system that requires you to be one binary, one or the other. It's a form of defiance. So these people defy before they openly defy. They defy before what those who write call the arrival of consciousness. It is expected by the age of in their 20s, in their 30s, they acquire political consciousness and they become activists. But if you look very carefully, their very beginning is a form of defiance. And therefore, their lives are politically significant before they have uttered any political word. You got what I'm saying? So there's a lot to look into that, and there's a lot to look into the choices then that he makes. He goes into education and he makes education very, very important, like everybody of the elite of the time. But he uses education in order to lead in education. He's been given a book, Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro, says in the colonial setting, you are given education in order to learn how to occupy your space, to be a subject. But he goes into education in order to acquire an ability to break that mode. Because out of that education, he becomes a leader of teachers, remember? He becomes a trainer of teachers and a lead in that particular thing. But in the literature, it is a period before he acquires consciousness. It's a period before he acquires political significance. But if you look at it carefully, he's already acquired political significance if he's going to do that. Then he goes into the church and he becomes a lay preacher. And a lay preacher is supposed to build himself up to be a full preacher, a priest. He becomes a lay preacher and he stays a lay preacher partly because he prefers to be one. Because some people feel that in order to exercise their role in life, they must be fully in a thing. But some realize that the best role in life is to be on the edge of things. Because when you're on the edge of things, your one foot is in a thing, and the other foot is another thing. So if we capture your one foot, the other foot can still walk your walk. So he decides to sit on the edges of the religious setting so that he has ability to walk on both tracks. Because a lay preacher is a preacher, but is a lay. It's both at the same time. So he acquires this, the biblical concept of royal priesthood, the idea of being a priest, but of being also non-priest, a king, at the same time. It does that. It also gets seen now about his life in how he handles the community. When he goes back to community, remember that his grandfather, when he established the community in Bulawayo, now which is the second biggest city in Zimbabwe, he became a priest, but he also put up his hand to become a chief. He doesn't put up a hand to become a priest because you get appointed to that office. You get what I'm saying? It's appointed, it's also spiritual. He realizes that to operate in that one office is to have both your feet in a single pond. If it gets poisoned, you are dead fully. He then offers himself for chieftainship so that he holds both positions. What he's unable to do through the church is able to do through the chieftainship. That's the grandfather. Luthuli will do the same thing when they get back to Crowdville outside Durban, and will be a chief and will be Inkosi and Umfundis at Wadudad. Both are positions of stature, both are positions of significance in this community. After praying as a priest, you play as a king, your role. You pray your wishes, and then you play your position. And is able to pray and play, like Wiseman was doing here. So acquire that ability to do that. It's very interesting that when he gets thereafter noticed, and then he gets asked to represent greater community, which is communities of the Natal province, he gets into the Natal ANC, that he doesn't give up being a king, a chief. He also doesn't give up being a priest, because it's just acquired a third leg. And he realizes that if two are important, three must be more important. And then he acquires that. What is that? It's already agency. That is where we begin to see agency if you look at the literature about his life. So that is why then we say that is a phase of life, and that phase of life was about him alive. What we concentrate on, which I'm not going to take you through because you need to read the book, is then how do we then interpret his afterlife? The critical point to make there is the process of understanding a person afterlife enhances how we understand his life, the pre-death. But it offers opportunities to reinterpret that life, like I'm trying to do now. That we underinterpret it because there are certain things we do not see because of our location outside them. We don't quite see that Luthuli is already an activist at the age of 8. And we think he becomes an activist at the age of 29. You get what I'm saying? It is not about him, it is about our eyes that can only see in part. Partly because of our training. Those of us who are trained in Western education, I need to see agency when a person takes membership of a political party. When a person takes a position in a political party, that's the beginning of their political career. That's how I'm mistrained. If I was properly trained, it's when a person takes a position on issues of life. That is when they become politically significant. But the rest, you will read in the chapter. Thank you very much.
It is very important to buy the book, very much important. Thank you so much, Prof. Pamandla Zondi. Indeed, you are showing us how Ubaba Luthuli was idlozi elihle. You know, he was, or he is idlozi elihle rather. And that he lived a life that was meaningful. And while Prof. Zondi is talking, I'm just thinking about how what would people say about my life or our lives, you know, after we are done? What would our afterlife be like? You know, because now we are talking about the afterlife of Ubaba Luthuli. You know, imagine people are still talking about you while you're dead or while you have passed on. So it's very important reflections that you're bringing, and especially how he juxtaposed or tried putting his feet in different spaces, you know, being a lay preacher and being a chief and being in the political space, and which is a servant leader to say, I will serve you, I will do the work, and I'll be with the people at the ground level, than just saying, hey, I'll just benefit or I will go wherever. And it's very important, it's a very important chapter that highlights the legacy of Ubaba Luthuli, and I hope we are all touched and inspired to live a life full of legacy. I'm not sure if Dr. Akona is here. She is not yet here. Lastly, on behalf of Dr. Sibangilizwe Maposa, who is also a contributor, unfortunately he could not join us today because he is very far in Zimbabwe. He sent out his reflections, which I will read. His chapter, he contributed on chapter 11, the legacy of Chief Albert Luthuli's soft power, servant leadership, and pragmatic leadership in the struggle against apartheid. His reflections read as follow. It was a monumental task to write about the legacy of Inkosi Albert Luthuli as a long and distinguished leader in the South African freedom struggle with varied legacies. Thank you to our book editors, Professor Botleng Sekgalo and Dr. Denyeko Chauke, for their unwavering support and reviews. My objective was to highlight qualities of liberation leaders using Luthuli as an example, his soft power, servant leadership, and pragmatic leadership in the struggle against apartheid. I took a moment's pause and critically reflected on his varied legacies, his ethos and philosophy. It is against the ethos and principles of Luthuli that in the contemporary South Africa, people who make their living in poor areas such as townships, urban slums, in other overpopulated spaces do not enjoy their freedom and their rights while their dignity continues to be trampled upon. I personally recognize Luthuli's sense of respect for other people, which is established in the power of creative imagination to influence other identities and belief systems. As I reflect now, I realize that Luthuli would not have allowed what is happening to take place. It is my conviction as a person who comes from a country where individuals are more important than institutions, that Luthuli would have advocated and built powerful institutions rather than create powerful individuals. South Africa continues to witness a growing lack of harmony between what the Constitution promises and the realities of people's lives. The glaring inequalities that comfort us daily require the government to structurally address the socio-economic and political injustices that were mostly inherited from the system of apartheid. As I reflect, Inkosi Luthuli left us many legacies, and I think it is our responsibility to create pathways, bridges, platforms that allow for engagement and for working collectively while remembering our purpose and responsibility of contributing towards making the world a better place. I consciously believe that centering the stories of African heroes whose teaching philosophies and legacies have been deliberately muted, like Inkosi Luthuli, is one of paramount importance. I shall forever be grateful and indebted to the experience that I was afforded by being part of this book writing. I thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sibangilezwe. I hope you are watching online as we give your reflections. I'd like to now call upon on stage the three contributors. Can we please give them a round of applause? You're going back. You're coming back. Okay, I think thank you so much for your availing yourselves and for the and for the reflections that you've brought. One of the provocations or questions I will like to just start with is, upon working and being part of this book project and doing memory work on Chief Albert Luthuli, what does it mean for you as a scholar and as an individual?
Oh, yeah. So I must start. I get to raise the questions you were raising about yourself now, about how to understand the human beings and their agency in society, not as an academic enterprise, but really in order to understand why these people were here, and what would have happened if they were not here. And then you realize that given limited records, that not every part of their story is written. Mm-hmm. There is a lot that is placed in the hands of a writer to think about the gaps where there is no data to place it by connecting the dots. Mm. It is the beauty of the story is in being successful in connecting the dots, because the alternative to that is to give us the mundane, the one that is all everybody knows. But being able to answer the question, so what? We already know many things about this guy, many things about this man. So what? Should I simply say exactly what has been said about him since the 1970s? Then how do I help society? Not just to understand him, but to understand life generally. Because through him, we are trying to understand others in his generation, others in our generation, perhaps even ourselves. It's just that the editors are always, they always spoil the fun. Because at the point while we are still thinking, and then the ideas are now starting to gel, then they start to tell you a very terrible word, deadline. You know? Deadline starts with the word dead. Deadline. Them.
He.
How do I come back from that?
The one that kills people.
I apologize. Thank you, Prof. Just to echo what Prof has just said, for me, it meant reinterpreting Luthuli, rereading him, and also rewriting parts of his life that are not in the public. And I also saw myself as a black person whose history has been silenced, whose history has been decentered. And so for me, it was a huge responsibility to center this man, to center his values, his philosophy into current South Africa, and to also see myself in his story. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think from my perspective in this regard, I think it was more of reflecting on the originality of Chief Albert Luthuli. But what I believe was left on the eye of the public is to contextualize his contribution in the struggle within the country of South Africa. Then, therefore, it became easy to articulate on what he wished for this country, and also contextualize the realities on what the current leaders can learn from what Chief Albert Luthuli achieved for this country, and also the extent to which the current leaders or the society at large can continue to learn or to capacitate themselves on the values of life as it is, and also on leadership and the principles. Therefore, I think exemplary being Chief Albert Luthuli, it's a true reflection now on what we need or on what is missing in the current society. And also, if we want to address our current issues, we should extensively have to rely on what type of leader Chief Albert Luthuli was.
Thank you. You can hold it. Thank you so much. I think, I don't know, there's something that's saying I must share what happened today, but I'm like, okay, and I think it's the spirit of Ubaba Luthuli. I'm a Togoza child. Today, so for those who know me, when I do the program directing work, I usually use my laptop. But I was like, I want to print out and you know, come with the paper. And I live Soweto at Diplov. I won't leave that out. So, and I was like, I'm going to print, and I don't think I had the time to just print here or wherever. And I was like, there is apparently a internet cafe or something. And then I walk at, Strateni, and just to go print. The first thing I see is a guy who's holding 2 beers, and it's around 12 o'clock. It's a Friday. And this guy, previously, my grandmother always says that he had a bright future, but now is washela dustbin. He like washes dustbins on Thursdays. And when he gets the money, he drinks it. And then I get into the internet cafe. I'm like, where's the internet cafe? Because I've never been there. Remember, as much as I stay in the township, but I'm not always in the township. So it's the inside out. The internet cafe, it's a Schaik. The printers that you see, it's not the printers that I saw there. That is not an internet cafe. And while I was waiting for my documents to be printed, a lady comes with her daughter to apply, to be helped to apply for school. And I just realized, but how is this a structure or space, for the community to come and do such work and, try to get their CVs done or print and whatnot. And the poor guy is he's trying. And this is a township. And I further walk and I see young people and I'm like, no, let me just take a walk after. And I see young people just sitting, and the saddest part, it's black young men sitting in the streets, drinking, some of them just, just talking. And I don't know what was happening. And I was like, if Luthuli, and I was holding this document with the picture of Luthuli, and I'm like, what are we doing, or what is happening in our country? Because people have lost hope. They are dead alive. You're doing a job that you don't love. You're washing people's dustbins, but you are qualified or you're educated. You don't have electricity. They say there's no load shedding, but now it's called load reduction. And the high rates of unemployment of young people in South Africa, in access to water, the inequality that is happening, gender inequality. I mean, Luthuli was a feminist in many ways, or believed in women, or believed in the power of women, even with his wife. And I just wonder, as an emerging academic, but also with the work that you've done with this book, how do we then take the work to the community? How do we breathe life to those communities? What do we do to get our hands dirty? Because these conversations are nice in these spaces, but how do we take them back to say, there was once a man called Luthuli, and this is his spirit saying, Aluta continua, let us fight for you, let us breathe, let us conceptualize, let us work with you in whichever way. How do we do that?
To give a simple answer, we've also tried to make the book open access. So those that do not have the means, we hope they will access the book, and to not only keep it within the bounds of academia. And what we've also tried to do was to sort of excavate the ordinary, the simple things that Luthuli contributed to, and the simple life that he lived, and we tried to make that academic work. So in a way, we're telling our stories as black people that, our work, what we do, is worth being put out there, is worth being put in a book. It's worth being documented. So, and the fact that the authors are predominantly black, we also tried to, visualize the previously invisibilized, and also the fact that I'm a co-editor and I'm also an emerging scholar. I was a postdoctoral fellow in my first year when we conceptualized this book. I would never have dreamed of such an opportunity, and for me, that's what Luthuli represents. Thank you.
I think you are touching, this one is very sensitive, more especially to us as from the academic space, I must say. Whenever I'm writing a contribution or an article, there is always a section for conclusion and recommendations. I think in most cases, when I reflect on recommendations, I always provide a strategy on what I have reflected on the paper can be addressed. I think in that aspect, the academic space, we need that, I call it an interlink of the academic space and society. As much as we want to contribute to the body of knowledge, but we tend to forget on what the community needs from us. So I think we need to expose more of community-based workshops as to allow the community to be part of what we are doing in the academic space. More especially such events, they don't supposed to be held in this space. We're supposed to take them back to the community to make sure that we engage with the community directly, so that they will visualize our intentions with what we want to address within the community. I think that's the gist of the matter. Thank you.
You know, we talk about decolonizing knowledge, and it's nice to talk about it. It's much more difficult to live it. Because in order to live it, we must live. We must live in order to live it. We must live what we are used to, exit what we are used to, and try something else. Now, in revolutionary theory, they talk about a middle-class people who fight the working class struggle. And it is said in order to them to do that carefully, they must commit class suicide. They must die in their class and live in the other class so that they can actually show empathy, not in words, academic one. No, I'm writing for the poor. It's still colonial. There, because we're doing it for them. They're out there. Some charity case, we are doing it for them. You assume they don't do anything. You also assume when they are sitting there, they're doing nothing.
True.
You also assume they're unemployed. They are not getting income, but they are not unemployed. Because if you would sit there, the lies they speak to each other when they are there, it's what in literature we call fiction, where you create a story, such as the story of Macbeth. Macbeth doesn't exist. He never did. You can't find their grave. But it's a story we all know. It's a lie that you tell for good purposes. So they're sitting there telling very good lies. The problem is the elite who can't go there and sit with them, listen to the creativity, and co-create certain things with them. So that you don't move them from the corner where they've chosen to be, or maybe circumstances force them to do it, but enable them to be productive in the corner and gain something from the corner where they are sitting. Instead of taking them to houses, because that's to relocate them. Because we are refusing to die in our class. We want them to die in their own, to join ours. It's a thing we do. I was in Sinawane myself a week before last week. Last week I was in Mzimhlope, your township. And yesterday I was in Tlabane. Tlabane is a township outside Rustenburg. It's in Rustenburg. I was there in the township. Don't ask me what I was doing. I just visited Tlabane. Tlabane is just 1 hour away. Just decided to go visit Tlabane. Then I'm going to walk around there. Then I'm going to go to Spar, supermarket that is there. I'm going to see if I'm going to find somebody I'm going to talk to. I'm going to buy somebody a drink. And then after I buying somebody a drink, then we're going to try and speak. I don't speak Setswana. They speak Setswana. Hey, now we must find a way to speak in order. I like that inconvenience because we're now going to learn to relate through this barrier. So we go in there to escape academia and have a break on a Thursday. I went there. Just didn't decide it. My spirit led me there. I just went to there. Never been there before. So we did that. But what I noticed, the people who talk to, like I spoke for a long time to a group of young people who were at a car wash because I decided to go there. My car was not unclean, but I decided let me just give them a car wash. They're getting customers. They're only costing 30 rand. Let me give them 30 rand and we go there. When we're there, they're talking. The things they're talking about, the dreams they have, the plans they have, the things they've already been able to do, the things they accomplish, the families they feed, just for temping there, and others who join in the afternoon to come to the car wash. Someone works from 8 at 12 is leaving, the other one because he needs to go do other things, the burdens of a black family in a township, and the others are joining at 12. But you know that the person you saw on the street might have been unemployed in the morning and employed in the afternoon. I found him while he was in a break. and I said he was unemployed. That's what I'm saying. But now, in terms of this project, there are many things we can do. Part of it is to be able to lose our shame and lose our status and go talk. And then someone says, to talk about what? That's a problem. You were taught by the system to have a plan for your fieldwork. In reality, you don't have a plan for your fieldwork. You arrive in people's lives and talk about what they are talking about. And then not expect that you will come out with something. It's attractive culture. Maybe you will come out with nothing, which means you lost something. So you grow. You came in with things, and you came out with nothing. You get what I'm saying? You lost things there. You needed to lose. And you gained things. You needed to gain. It looks mundane, it looks very small, not professional and stuff like that. But it's significant in the cycle of life. Because at the beginning of all things, the biggest status you have is not a doctor status. Because a doctor in English is an it. But tinyiko is a hair. So tinyiko is deeper than doctor. Because doctor it, tinyiko hair, human being. One of the basic things we could do, just to cut my long story short, is a project of this nature in future when we have a project of this nature. Because we are talking to NHSS, the funder, we say people are going to write papers, and they're going to write a book. And each person is going to translate their chapter to their home language, even if it's in brief or even if it's just going to be a QR code. The English part is written, the QR code, one of you scan a QR code, it takes you to me speaking what I'm writing here. Then they can listen to what I'm speaking on their phone. Possible, doesn't it? It doesn't add much to the budget or to the project when we conceptualize it. But it's about who conceptualizes and from which class they conceptualize and who they have in mind when they conceptualize. I can't escape my academic commitment at the end of a project. I must escape it at the conception of the project. I can't add others in. I must have them in the beginning. So if in this project then, we then say that we will go around a couple of townships, give them the story, a summary of what the story is about Luthuli. When I was in Sinawana, they use an open space. You know those roads that are cul-de-sac? It ends by the wall and stuff. They turn that into a performance area. There's a graffiti there, and they do poem there, and they do all manner of practicing new dances. That's why they invent the new dance. And they do lots of things. You go there and say, let's have a competition. Who are the rappers of the section? I want you to rap about Luthuli. These are the things about Luthuli and all that. Create for me some rap. You record that. It's possible, isn't it? Because they are doing it daily. You simply just said, please, we'll give you, we'll compensate for this. Please design for me a rap about it. Design for me a poem about this. Do this. There is a way in which we could humble ourselves, die in our class, and include them, not on what we train them to do, but on what they already are doing, so that in what they are doing, we are able to transfer the resources as well downwards. But there's thousands of other things we do. If we would just lose our snob is Kasha. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are influenced, but also urged to also lose our snobbish culture so that we can do the groundwork. And I think the reflections that they provide with these provocations that asked is to just, it's not just for them or the project that they're doing, but for the various projects that we are doing and embarking on. Because it is important that as much as we take and extract data from the community, it is important to also include them, but also to co-create and start with them in the beginning, as Prof is saying. I'd like to now ask the Deputy Executive Dean of the College of Human Sciences, Prof. Tinandaba Mashao, to please render us a vote of thanks while our contributors are still here on stage.
I'm not Professor Mashao. I am not Professor Mashao, but he asked me to stand in for him. And so when I asked him what he was going to say, he just said, stand up and say thank you and sit down. And I was tempted to do so, but the stories that I've heard somehow pushes me to try to do this vote of thanks within the shortest time possible. The thing is that starting from the first person who used this mic, that is Madam Program Director, you started by thanking people. When Professor Lapskagnes stood up, he did the same. And then the co-editor did a lot of it. And so it has been covered. Only that for the sake of the Professor Mashao was supposed to do this, let me say this, ladies and gentlemen, that the whole occasion fills us with a lot of gratitude to say thank you to many people for making this work possible. And among those, I want just to highlight the following. That is the University of South Africa Executive Management, represented here by Professor Lapskagnes, who has who welcomed us to this meeting and did a fantastic job on behalf of the executive management. I want also to thank Luthuli Museum Council Chairperson, who also spoke to us. Then I want also to recognize and also thank the academics in the room who have also contributed heavily towards the success of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to thank without whom I don't think we'll have been here, that's the editor and co-editor, plus the contributors of the book. Those are the people who, just like when we go for baby showers, we have got to thank their mother and father also. Yes, so I want to say that without them, we couldn't be here, and so thank you so much. The Unisa Press, you have done a fantastic job, and I can see you here. So keep up the good work that you are doing. The College of Human Sciences, under which the Albert Luthuli Chair is located, we also want to thank them. I did not introduce myself. One of those in the management of the college. I'm acting head of graduate studies and research. And so I'm standing in for the Deputy Executive Dean and the Dean for that matter. So I will also want to appreciate the National Institute of Humanities and Social Sciences for their support for Albert Luthuli Chair and also even for the book project. I think I heard that they contributed to that. So as I conclude, I say that to everyone present here today, including the family, if the family is present, thank you for your presence, enthusiasm, and support. I also want to conclude and say that as we conclude the launch, the book launch, let us carry forward the teachings and the spirit of Inkosi Albert Luthuli, and may his legacy serve as a reminder of the resilience, courage, and wisdom that guides us Thank you once again for joining us in this celebration and for your unwavering commitment to honoring our heroes in South Africa. Thank you.
Like at the baby shower, I am the proud aunt. Thank you. I therefore, colleagues, urge you to buy the book. It is available today and it is online. Review it, Kuma Book Reviews. Talk about it to the younger generations so that they know and understand there was once a great man who was called Inkosi or Albert Luthuli, one of the greatest leaders the African soil was blessed with. Don't be afraid to tell your truth and question the status quo, because if he was alive, he would do the same. And also, as a spiritual child, I believe Inkosi Luthuli is shaking his head in disbelief of what our country has become. And I believe we should also be shaking our heads and doing something about that. However, we are still resilient like he was and hopeful for a better future and present. Please do join some of us we do have refreshments. I believe we have soup and also old brown cherry. Ngikhuliswa ugogo, so old brown cherry, it's one of those, wines zasemsamo. So trust me, this is a very spiritual engagement. So yeah, please do join us outside for also tea and coffee. And thank you so much to Unisa Press for your unwavering support. You have been amazing. And it was lovely being your host. And yeah, you can DM me for other gigs. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. To those who are in the program and the contributors, can you just please remain for a picture? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry. I love black men who believe in God and who are like, we can't be praying, opening, and then not closing. So I want to say Brother Wiseman right now, but Dr. Wiseman, please close in prayer as well.
Program director, am I messing up with your program if I ask that we move there and then we get a group picture for my good, so that I need to prove to other people that I was with these important people? Otherwise, if I just say, they will say I was claiming, I was with the head of the College of Graduate Studies. It's very important. And from productions. Can we? Congratulations. That's what we were promised, so we'll just go with it.
Okay, colleagues, please do come join us in front for a group picture in honor of Prof. Spamandla. Please. Okay, the contributors to sit, and then we will be around.
They want people to sit in the chair. Break the chest. The back. Okay.
Okay. I'm with Vet now, but I've been at Unisa. So mine, yes.
Okay, I'll stand here with you on the picture.
Yeah.
One at this side, one at that. Just stand next to the chair.
Who is the dictator?
Next to the chair. It look like we're all in the position.
I'm trying to not see you, but it's fine now.
It's fine.